I'm Keith Olbermann, and this is The Resistance. There is strong reason to believe that there is a grand jury sitting in the Eastern District of Virginia right now, hearing evidence about the connections between Donald Trump's presidential campaign and the Russians. And there is likewise reason to believe that a grand jury, possibly this same one in Virginia, has already issued warrants in connection with Trump and Russia. And there are now new indications suggesting that the FBI may have targeted as many as 42 individuals in the Trump-Russia case. And most importantly, much of this appears to have been, at minimum, quite likely confirmed when the FBI Director James Comey testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee. This started with a tweet from April 28th from a former Clinton White House staffer named Claude Taylor. Quote, "This just in from a source with knowledge of Comey's investigation. 2 grand juries have convened, and I know that one is almost complete." Republican advertising man and former Giuliani staffer Rick Wilson retweeted Taylor, adding just one word, quote, "Same." And then James Comey testified. And 3 hours into that testimony, as the eyes of reporters and senators alike began to glaze over, Comey said it. At 1:42 Eastern Daylight Time on Wednesday, May 3rd, he was asked a question by Senator Mazie Hirono of Hawaii.
So in the investigations that you're currently doing on the Russian interference and the Trump team's relationship, are you coordinating with any U.S. Attorney's Office on those investigations?
Well, 2 sets of prosecutors, Maine Justice, the National Security Division, and the Eastern District of Virginia U.S. Attorney's Office.
Comey matter-of-factly confirmed that the FBI was, to use Senator Hirono's term, coordinating with, to quote again what we just heard him say, 2 sets of prosecutors, the Maine Justice, the National Security Division, and the Eastern District of Virginia U.S. Attorney's Office. I asked the smartest man I know, John Dean, Nixon's White House counsel and the survivor of presidential scandals past, to translate what coordinating could mean to the director of the FBI. Coordinating with the National Security Division of Justice Department headquarters could mean almost anything. But coordinating with the Office of the U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia? John Dean says Comey's testimony makes it difficult to believe that there is not a grand jury in the Eastern District of Virginia. A grand jury would obviously be one reason the FBI would be coordinating with the U.S. Attorney there. Right after Comey added credence to Taylor's tweet from April 28th, Taylor, acting as a kind of citizen journalist, took this whole thing to yet another higher level. "I now have 2 sources within legal community confirming that a D.C. area judge has signed 2 warrants related to Comey's Trump investigation." Warrants? Search warrants or arrest warrants? Taylor's sources are not certain. They believe there are at least 2 sealed warrants. Those sources are also pointing to the fact that the reported grand jury in the Eastern District of Virginia would be under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Attorney for that region, Dana Boente. Until last month, Dana Boente was the acting Deputy Attorney General of the United States after the firing of Sally Yates. But Taylor's sources now add that for months, Boente has maintained a strict quarantine against any contact with the Attorney General, Mr. Sessions. Mr. Sessions has recused himself from the Trump-Russia story because Sessions was not honest during his confirmation hearing about his own contact with the Russians. Taylor's sources say, in short, that on the subjects of General Flynn and Trump and Russia, Boente no longer reports to Attorney General Sessions and is essentially operating independently. And Taylor's sources also report that the target list in the FBI investigation of Trump and Russia ranges between 28 and 42 different individuals. In any event, what Taylor has apparently unearthed, what Comey has said, what other independent investigators like Louise Mensch and John Schindler and Rick Wilson and many others have alleged is, if it is corroborated, so far ahead of the so-called professional journalists that it almost cannot be quantified. Taylor even seems to have a handle on the nature of the cases. 2 grand juries, 2 cases, he tweeted. One is a RICO case, RICO, racketeering. The other is a FARA, Foreign Agents Registration Act case. The FARA case loops in the Russians in Trump Tower, is larger and also does involve RICO. The other unrelated RICO case involves no election matters. It involves money laundering as a predicate offense. So in short, a man named Claude Taylor tweets there are 2 Trump-Russia grand juries. 5 days later, James Comey says his FBI is coordinating with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Virginia on Trump and Russia. FBI coordination with the U.S. Attorney's Office could very well mean getting evidence and testimony seen and heard by a grand jury. No hyperbole is needed here. A federal grand jury, perhaps more than one of them, quite likely actively investigating right now what links existed between Trump's presidential campaign and the Russians. The FBI, in its director's own words, coordinating with the office of the U.S. Attorney in whose district that grand jury apparently sits. And from Claude Taylor's sources, the FBI target list on Trump and Russia reportedly includes at least 28 names and as many as 42 names. These are the most important events in the investigation of Trump and Russia since the day of the presidential election. Resist. Peace.